We wanted to present to the board this evening just a financial update of where the Freehold Regional High School District stands currently. Obviously, we're on the heels of a referendum that did not pass, a huge shift in the determination of how schools are funded across the state, and what does all that add up to for Freehold Regional High School District. So, a couple things. So one is the good news first, is that we've been very well managed financially for a number of years. And we are in a position to weather a difficult storm in the immediacy. The problem for our school system is as we move several years out. And for those who haven't been following along, the state reinterpreted the school funding formula this year. And what that, Mr. Boyce will get to the specifics, but what it means for Freehold Regional High School District in the long term is a massive reduction in state aid to the tune of over a 7-year period, a $25 million reduction. That's not good. And coupled with the fact that even at the 2% tax cap, you can only raise up to $17 million. What you have in 2025 is the district operating under all those new requirements with $8 million less to do so than we have today. That's a very difficult position to be in. We were hopeful that a number of our capital projects that are largely fall beyond the scope of the general operating budget would be taken care of by the referendum ensuring excellence on October 2nd. Unfortunately, that did not occur, so we're going to certainly chart a path forward with making sure that we take every precaution that we can to ensure the same excellent service for our students. And there's been a lot of discussion with state legislators and other political leaders at the municipal level, at the larger county level, and at the state level, for sort of sounding the alarm about what's happening in some of the school districts as a result of this. So the history of this was that there were a number of school districts in the state of New Jersey where the school aid was kept flat in 2009. So aid was flat from 2009 till this past year. And any student that had experienced a population growth, obviously the aid did not keep pace with that. So there were a number of districts, our own Freehold Borough, which is a sending district, that were really done short thrift by the state. They just didn't have the money to adequately fund their school systems. And so in correcting that, I believe that there's been a bit of an overcorrection, because what's happened as a result of that is that the new funding formula, while it gives the assistance needed to those districts that had struggled for a number of years, it puts another number of, about 200 districts on the same path that those folks just came from. And so you solve one problem by creating the same problem in existence just for a different group of districts. Some might call that kicking the can down the road. It certainly puts us in a difficult position. So we have been working, really tirelessly. I think last meeting someone asked the question, well, what's happening behind the scenes? And what's really happening is we continue to meet with all of our elected officials to make this case. So whether that's Senator Thompson, Senator Gopal, Assemblyman Dancer in Clifton, State Senator Sweeney this Thursday we have a meeting with. We are talking to all these folks to explain clearly what the financial impact to this school district will be in the subsequent years. And it's certainly not, I've never wanted to, and it's never been our practice to get up and say, oh my gosh, this is going to happen, we're going to reduce this, that, and this, because I don't think that creating panic solves anything. But I think any of us in the room can do the math that our operating budget with an $8 million hole in it is $8 million in reductions, and that's intense. And it puts us in a very difficult position long term. And it's complicated. The state funding formula is very complex. how a community's ability to pay is determined is very complex. And Mr. Boyce and I have testified in Trenton, making the case that there's a lot of voodoo math that goes into it, and the state backs into their numbers oftentimes to the detriment of some communities. So I'm going to turn it over to Sean to give sort of a high-level overview of where we are financially. But I think it's important for the larger community to understand that we are on a very dire path, and that path is going to come with some significant reductions in the school system long-term if we don't get off of that path. And I'm hopeful. Mr. Bruno told me I'm too hopeful sometimes. But I'm hopeful that we can convince some of our elected officials that the path that some school districts have been placed on since they've just come out of it is the very same path, and that there might be opportunities for us to step off of that path through legislation. For instance, to give folks perspective, the Freehold Regional High School District educates students for almost $3,000 less per pupil than the state average. That's $3,000 for every student. That's our economy of scale because we're a regionalized system, and we realize that. The 2% cap is here to really ultimately bring smaller districts to their knees. So that's why we've been able to weather some of this difficult circumstance a little bit more effectively and do it at cost, at scale, that allows us to deliver the programs that we do. Sean, I'll turn it over to you for a lot of the specifics.
So for a brief presentation on an important topic. What I want to accomplish tonight is just sort of pull these various pieces together into a real high-level look at where we stand in a comprehensive way so that you can have that point of reference as we move forward. And in the months to come, I'm sure this will be an ongoing topic of conversation in one aspect or another. So, what are the influences affecting our school district at this time? And as Mr. Sampson stated, one of those significant influences is a loss of state aid projected out over the next 6 years, overall 7 years, including the current year. So for that prognosis, it's something that is significant, it's compounded, and it's also sustained cuts. So it's not simply a matter of we're going to defer this or we're not going to do this for this particular year. The cuts are compounded over time. So, but in the grand scheme of things, how does that fit in? I think in order to have a good perspective on that, I just want to give you a quick reminder of the highlight of how our budget revenue comes in. And there are really three major players to that. 2/3 of our revenue comes through property taxes. Increases on property taxes, as you know, are limited by 2% per year, with a few exceptions, which we seldom take. 25% of our overall revenue is from the state, so that's $200 million operating budget, $50 million in state aid, half of that going away over time. And the third is fund balance, also called surplus, synonymous for the purposes of this conversation. And that's, although it's a fairly minor component of it, it does have a significant impact because of the other two factors and how that grows over time. We'll take a look at that in a moment. School funding reform, declining fund balance, and capital needs. So the failed referendum for $40 million has approximately 50% of that, a little more than 50% of that is work that we will need to do in the years to come, the immediate years to come, regardless of referendum. So that's another influence that's putting pressure on our overall financial position. So for that $200 million budget, let me first break down the revenue for you. Now, there are two different things going on here. The red line is the overall path of our revenue over time. I've gone back and I've gone forward, and that corresponds to the right side, the numbers on the right side in red. So you can see the overall impact. The bars in the graph that corresponds to the amounts on the left side is the breakdown of that revenue. So if we look at those one at a time, the blue bar, as you can see, and as we just discussed, is property taxes. This assumes an increase in property taxes of 2% a year. So just to make some basic assumptions to see how this grows over time. State aid, the green bar, you can see that moving down over time for the next 6 years and ultimately arriving at about half of where it is right now. And down in a very small but important piece of this is that purple bar for fund balance. So let me just explain how this works. At the end of each fiscal year, whatever is remaining unspent in the budget is dedicated, set aside to be revenue funding the next budget that we build. Okay? So as our revenue is compressed, as you might expect, the amount that we are going to have lapsing at the end of each year is going to go down. And that means that revenue against those future budgets, which that would have funded, will also go down. So the current amount of surplus that we've been able to consistently fund, we've been able to use that to absorb the $1.2 million decrease in state aid for the current fiscal year. And that's something that we'll look to in the next fiscal year. But after that, we'll play out that card, and then the compounding effect of all of these factors adds into that. So there's our path of revenue in a very high-level way. So revenue versus appropriations. The appropriations, the blue and up into the current date green bars, are the actual spending that the district has seen up to date. Now, we've averaged an increase of spending of about 1.5%. The green, as you can see, varies from year to year because that represents capital improvements that are separately funded outside of our normal revenue stream. From fiscal year 2020 forward, what I've done is I pulled those essential elements out of the referendum and added them over time. Now, in the weeks to come, I'll be working with the architects to further identify which projects are priority for roofing, for paving, and some of the other areas. But as you can see, the additional item on the green going forward makes the situation even more difficult. Any questions on that? Okay. So what I wanted to do tonight was just to give you that high-level view of it. We will continue to, as Mr. Sampson mentioned, advocate for our community at the legislative level. We'll consider legislative moves, legal moves, and we have some options there that we'll be exploring. We think that recognizing the uniqueness of a regional district like this is something that we can hopefully successfully pursue to defend additional funding for Freehold Regional. And that's something we'll keep you posted on along the way. Also, a revised capital project plan. We will consider and bring back to the board for their consideration some alternate referendum considerations. There are dates in the coming months that the board consider going out for a modified referendum. We'll also prioritize and assign those projects to the upcoming budget years if that's not something that the board wishes to pursue. And finally, the program impact is something that we're all going to work together very closely to minimize the impact on our students going forward of reductions in state aid and also meeting our capital needs. Big picture, overall view, any questions on that?
So just thank you, Mr. Boyce. And we have, so there's a meeting this week that I'm able to attend with Senator Sweeney's office, who was the main architect of S2, which altered the funding, and really hoping to just lay out the financial metrics of the district and the efficiencies that are brought by the regional model, and make the case that if if the state's goal has been consolidation and regionalization, we're already there. And we can already look back and speak to the financial efficiencies and the ability that we've been able to deliver our programs at an economy of scale to do that. So that will be ongoing conversation.